This video covers the basics of working with WordPress, specifically with the Utopia Planitia website theme that I've developed. We're going to go into some of the basics in this video of what settings are available, what are the parts of your interface, and some other knowing your way around kind of components. We'll get into more details in other videos. So hopping over here into WordPress, I'm assuming that you've already logged in and you're here at your dashboard. So you want to get to your dashboard and you'll see options on the left side here. First, let's hop over into settings and go over what some of those settings do. So here in settings, you can change your site name as well as the tagline. You can also update the site icon, which will appear up here in your tab. I'm using Chrome. That will show up next to your website, as well as other interface places. So that's a great spot for you to update a logo 512 by 512 pixels to add some distinctiveness to your site. The website address and the URLs are probably already locked in for you. Those don't need to change. Your admin email address is where you're going to get emails from WordPress and your install. Membership is an option for WordPress where you can have people register for your site. You really don't need this feature unless you're going to develop something where people are users and actively working on the website. Otherwise, leave it off because it can lead to some serious spam where bots will sign up for a lot of accounts. Setting the language for your site as well as its time zone. I find it's important to set that time zone so times for your website are actually in a local time where you're located. Then you've got a date format as well as a time format and what day the week starts. In WordPress, there's always an activate or a save or a submit button. So once you make changes, make sure you click the save button or things are not going to get saved. We will especially talk about that with the publish button when we are posting content in pages. The writing section does not have a whole lot to do with regular portfolio sites, except for default categories if you're doing any blogging. Then we go to reading. Reading at the very beginning of your website will be set to your latest posts. Because WordPress is a blogging platform, it really started out with writing blog posts, which is why your latest post is the default. If your website, when you go to the homepage, says archive and has a list of posts, it means your site is still going to that blogging platform kind of way of showing your site. You probably are going to want to switch to a static page for your homepage or posts page. You'll notice here I have switched to static page. My homepage is a page called Utopia Planitia Home, and my post page is a list of posts. I created these pages myself, so you may not have these options from the very beginning. To have options here for the reading settings, to set your homepage, you're going to have to set the pages up first. More on that in a second. Then we have number of posts to show, and there's that save changes buttons again, where you'll want to save your changes after you make those edits. Discussion is where you can set any kind of comments. If you're doing blogging, you may want people to comment on your posts. Otherwise, make sure you turn these off because you're going to get a lot of comment spam. I tend to disable these from the default and then turn on commenting if I want it later. Media will allow you to set the default image sizes for images on your site. If you're using the Utopia Planitia plugin or theme, then these values are going to be set through the theme and you don't have to worry about them. If you're using some other kind of theme, then these may be important for you to set. Permalinks is an important one to change early on. Permalinks are how WordPress sets the URL structure for your website. I believe by default it is set numeric. So each page has a number, and that number just shows up as an arbitrary or in order number that is actually not the name of your page. I recommend you change this one from the very beginning to post name. That way, every page and post is going to have your URL as well as the name of the page itself. This way, if you have a portfolio piece, for example, that is dinosaur packaging, then your URL will be your domain name / dinosaur packaging. Nice and clear and easy to communicate and track. As always, in permalink settings, make sure you click Save Changes After. So shift your site, switch that over to post name, and hit that Save Changes. And do this very early, probably first step when you are launching your site. Privacy is that last option, and that's for setting a privacy settings or a privacy policy page and linking to that page. So that's settings. Let's pop over into plugins, and I'll show you what that means, though we're going to get into plugins later and get into details about what plugins to use for this site. Plugins are where you can add various plugins to your site to extend its functionality. You'll see I've got a bunch of plugins already installed here. One word about plugins in WordPress. The more plugins you have, the slower your site likely will run. Also, having a lot of plugins installed may open your site up to security breach potential or hacking. Not everyone develops their plugins and keeps them up to date with best security practices. So that means if you install a plugin and if that developer does not update the plugin well, you might be opening yourself up to getting hacked or having your site having a security breach. So choose your plugins wisely. At the same time, plugins can be a great way for you to extend your website. If you ever want to add a plugin, and one plugin I'll say is Nested Pages is a really good one, we can go to Add Plugin, and this is the WordPress plugin directory where you see lots of different options. If I wanted Nested Pages, because I know this is a good plugin, I could type that in and find it right there. You'll notice Install Now is an option on many of these, but I've already installed Nested Pages, and so it has an Activate button for me. By activating that, I will turn that plugin on and it will begin working on my website. So that's plugins if you need to upload a plugin. For example, with Utopia Planitia, there are plugins I developed that the only way to get them is by using the upload plugin option. Those, by the way, those plugins, if we've worked together, you know how to get them and you know how to, what you need to do with them. But if you need to upload a plugin, click Upload, select it from your computer, and upload the zip file. So WordPress accepts zip or compressed files when you upload a plugin into your site. So make sure you don't unpack those, leave them as that zip file. Then you can upload the file. If you're installing a plugin and overwriting an existing plugin, if there's an update, like you've got an update from me for Utopia Planitia plugins, then just upload it and it will overwrite. WordPress will ask you, you sure you want to upload it? You sure you want to overwrite? And you can confirm yes. So that's plugins. Let's hop over to Appearance. So Appearance is where you'll see different themes for your website. So the way WordPress works, the styling and look and feel of your website are defined by the theme. And the theme that I've developed as a portfolio starter for students is Utopia Planitia. So you'll see here, I've got the 2025 theme is activated. That is a theme that WordPress builds into most current sites. Everybody's going to get 2025, maybe 24 and 23. I also have Utopia Planitia here, which I've uploaded. So if you ever want to add a theme to your website, you can add that theme and you'll see there are lots of themes that are possible. Many themes are free and can be downloaded and implemented. Many have paid features. So look around at those themes. I'm going to talk specifically about Utopia Planitia. So if you need to upload a theme because it's a theme that is local, that you have downloaded, like Utopia Planitia, do it just like you've done with plugins. You'll choose that theme, find the zip file, and upload it to your website. If you ever upload a theme that already exists, it will overwrite that theme. So just like with plugins, if you get a fresh version of Utopia Planitia from me that has a lot of bug fixes, just upload it again and overwrite it, and it will work. So here in Appearance, if we want to activate a theme, we can go to that theme and do activate. That will now make the front end of our website look differently. It will restructure all the content to be in a new form, a new theme, which is really cool because you can create all the content for your website and switch a theme, and all of a sudden everything's going to look different. Popping into the last few key parts of WordPress are posts. Posts are where you are going to post actual updates like blog posts. So think of these as unique stories that are at a specific time. If you want to write an update about, I have a new job, or I have an idea about this thing that just happened, a post is what you want to use. Some themes will use posts in ways that are more like blogging, and others will push them to the back. For Utopia, Planitia, they are subordinate to most of the page-based content. I'll talk about it in a second. But still, if you want to do some blogging, posts are a great place to show some of that. Media, moving down, is where you'll see media that you've added to your website. If you want to add media here, you can by using the Add Media button. But likely you're going to add media through your post or through your page. So when you're writing a page, adding an image to a page, then that's going to show up here in media later on. One way to think about media, though, once you've uploaded assets, they're going to show up here. Don't re-upload every time you make a page or a post. Reuse the content in media, and I'll show you more about what that means in another video where we go into actually creating a page or a post. Then we move down to pages. So pages are static pages that are not time-based. In other words, if a blog post is about what happens on May 14th, 2026, a page is a static page that stays the same all the time. Your portfolio pages are going to be pages, not posts. Now, you may update that portfolio item, and you can anytime, but it really doesn't need a date on it unless you're adding things like when you made the piece and other stuff like that. So those are pages, and you'll notice that pages are hierarchical. So I have bold sub theme, and then portfolio pages are underneath it. Now I'm going to pop over to plugins in a second and activate a plugin that makes pages so much easier to use. And I highly recommend you use this plugin. So I'm here in the back end of WordPress. I'm going to go to plugins. Let's say we downloaded Nested Pages. There it is right there by Kyle Phillips. And I'm going to activate that plugin. Now that it's activated, I can go back to pages and I will have a very different view. Notice now how we have all those pages and a caret, so I can see the pages that are inside it. Pages are hierarchical, which means you can have a page and then pages nested underneath it and nested underneath those. It is great for your site hierarchy where users can click and go into a section and see pages and go under that page and see other pages underneath it. So it allows things to be organized really well, just like you do folders on your computer. So I highly recommend the Nested Pages plugin so you can grab pages and even move their order around and put them in different sections. Makes this really easy. You can also clone pages really fast. Cloning is especially helpful if you are creating a portfolio website and you create a piece for your portfolio. You put all the content in and get a nice structure, and you can just clone that one and then add new content into it for a different portfolio piece. So again, pages are static. Those are most of what you're going to build for a portfolio website, and they can nest inside each other. I'll talk about that nesting and how Utopia Planitia works in another video. Last is comments. And here, comments are where you can see any blog comments that you've received from other people. I have a bunch here because I was testing out how comments work in this theme as I was developing it. So that's a quick rundown of everything on this left side for WordPress. You'll notice this ACF and global styles. Those are for advanced custom fields, a paid plugin that is required for the Utopia Planitia theme to work properly. You will not see those unless you install them, and I'm going to go over all those plugins in the plugins video. If you just installed your website, you won't see those ACF options. So don't worry if you're not seeing ACF and global styles. Those will come later. So that covers everything on the left side, a good overview of WordPress as well as the dashboard. Last principle here is in the home, you'll see there's a visit site option. If you click visit site, then you'll be able to see what the site looks like on the front end. So remember how I said that Utopia Planitia requires some plugins? My site just showed up broken because those plugins are not activated. So if you ever run into a problem with a website where your website is not displaying properly or shows that there's been a critical error, something's broken, look for plugins. And that's my best recommendation. Turn all your plugins off and see if it works, and then build them up one by one. The problem could be in the plugins, or they can be in the theme. Plugins are all those add-on parts, and the theme is the overall look and feel. That's a helpful way to diagnose issues. And now I know I need to go in and check how I've built my plugins to make sure they don't break if you turn them off. Okay, so that's an overview of WordPress, where things are. Check other videos for the specifics about Utopia Planitia, how to create posts and pages, and how to customize your website.